to make sure that our animation is going to fit inside the area we've defined. So we want to turn on the resolution gate and the resolution mask there so we can have this boundary here, make it easier for us to see. And then it's a good idea to scrub and check the extremes, meaning the extreme positions of the animation to see if there's anything, and it looks like we're okay. All right, so now we want to go into the render settings and make sure we've set this. Now this will probably be default, let's say master layer, because we're not talking about creating multiple layers of renderings yet. We're going to want to make sure that it does say render using Arnold. This is the path. Double check that this is going where you think it's going. Make sure it's going into your directory. It should be your last name _ arm and the images folder. This represents the file name. Mine says arm flex fast slow extension 001.tiff. So that's because this is the name, the prefix, if you will, I gave to the file. So every file that's rendered will have that name, and then we'll see in a second underscore and a number, and then the file format TIFF. The image format TIFF makes the most sense to me because it carries the most information. We're going to at some point compress this animation when we change it to a format that will fit on the internet. And so we want to, instead, out of Maya, come out with all the information possible. So there's no compression here. These are just different compression formats. Since we're not using compression, we're not going to worry about it. The gamma and the dither I'm going to leave as is. This is that critical place right here. Very, very important that you make sure it says name underscore number extension. And again, that's why this says the name underscore and then the number. The padding, how many digits? So we're going to start on frame 1 and end on frame 100. So there would be hundreds, tens, units, 3 digits. That's why I need 3 frame padding. And that's why you see this 001. That's critical. Otherwise, the images will not assemble correctly sequentially. And then when you try to assemble them back into a movie, you'll have a mess if you don't use the correct padding. So basically, you always want to match the number of digits. If we had 1,000 images, we would change this to 4. By frame means we're going to render every frame. Instead of, if it was 2, for example, it would say every second frame, or 3 would be every third frame. This right now, I'm just using my perspective camera, which really isn't great practice. I should have created a new camera, given it a name. I would usually call it render camera, and use that to render. That gives me a camera independent of my modeling, so I can freeze it. We talked about doing that in the modeling class. I'll try to review or upload that information again. The size is totally dependent on what you want. This is just what I wanted for the sake that it fits well in your My courses. Resolution is critical here. We don't need to be above 72 because we're going to make this a movie. We're going to go on to a digital format. If we were going to print, that would be a whole other concern, and then we would have to go much higher. I don't know enough about Arnold yet to tell you anything other than just leaving the default values. They've worked for me, and so that's seems to be working. Now the critical thing here, or I'm sorry, not the critical, but the one thing that is unusual or different, I'm going to go to the rendering set, and under render, we're going to use this green element that says render sequence. Okay. Now when I click that, I'm sorry, it's off the screen here, but you'll see it's now going through and rendering each of those images. Okay. Now there's 100 of them, And I've already rendered this, so I'm going to hit the escape key to kill it. And let's go to the next thing. Let's hide this for a second. Okay, so here's actually the 25 frames I just rendered right here. Those are the ones I just rendered just now. Okay, but so that's what you'll get in your images directory. I'm just going to trash those because I don't need them. And this is what I got originally, all 100 frames. Okay, and you can see they're each an individual frame. It's hard probably to see that white on white, but that's what it is. Now we're going to import those frames into another piece of software. That's called Media Encoder. So what Media Encoder is designed to do, let me get rid of this previous thing. Media Encoder is designed to take some type of media and encode it. Boy, that makes sense, doesn't it? Into another format that we can use. So in this case, first thing we're going to do is we're going to click this plus symbol, which means add the source, add what you want to have encoded. And then we're going to look for the images we just made. So in this case here. Now all I need to do is pick the first one. Very, very critical step though, right down here. See where it says TIFF image file sequence. So I want to say, make sure I click that. This is where all that fuss about the padding was so important. You see how it has everything in the correct sequence. If I didn't use padding, it would get confused between 1 and 11 and 2 and 21, and it ended up being a mess. So you really need that padding. Okay, so I select that I want this sequence. I say open, and now it gives me, now here I've been using this, so I got these values, but you're not going to see these, I don't think, initially. So you go down this arrow, make sure you say H.264. That's the standard format that we use in America, which is what this means. This NTSC is North American Standard. I can't remember the full name of it, but it basically means video for North America. There's a PAL, which is a European version. It's just somehow a little bit different in the sequencing. This is very important because this is where your files are going and what the movie file is going to be named. So the minute I change this to H.264, the format for this file became MP4, which is exactly what I want. That's the compression that we want. So that's going to take our sequence and put it in the smallest possible size while maintaining decent quality. Now I don't need, the frame numbers. And as a matter of fact, I could name this anything I want. And generally what I do is I switch now to the movies directory and say put it in the movies directory. So because that helps me keep track of the movies versus the images. And then I say save. And in this case it says it's already there, so I'm not going to do it. And what I would do then is hit this green arrow, and very quickly it will just go through here. This is not, obviously a very large file, and it will just go through here and give me that image. And the result of that process, I have this VLC. It's I believe a free video media player. You can see here the images I've already called up before. If I'd say open file and go to my movies directory and look for the one we just rendered, this one, you can see that's the movie, and it will keep looping. I'm not 100% sure where in this software why it loops. I'm glad it does, but I can't remember. I don't know if this is confusing because I didn't turn it on. But now what it does, this software particularly, it makes a if you will, a playlist, so I can go back and it will now remember the path and go and play that. Okay. See, this one loops, the other one didn't. I don't know why. Anyway, let's see if we put that playback on and we hit it again if it keeps going. No, I see this. Now it's just going through the whole playlist. Okay. Yeah, so it's not looping it. It was just going through the playlist. Okay, so anyway, that's what you need. Now that MP4 file, what do you do with that? Well, what you can do is I need you all to get either a YouTube account or a Vimeo account. And like I said to you in class, I'd recommend you open a YouTube account. It's not expensive. It's free. That's even better than not expensive. And let's see if I can find it. There it is. Okay. So I have an account. What typically I would do is I would click this button that says upload, and I would click here and find that file we just made, the MP4 file. Say choose, and then it's going to start uploading. And when it's done uploading, I'm going to say publish. I'm not sure how to stop this from uploading. It's done. So I say publish. Now when I do that, notice I have three different options here. One of them is called embed. This is the option you want because what it will allow you to do, you can take that code and paste it either into your website or right into the Behance collection you made in the fall. You know, in the fall you were putting JPEG files in that collection. You can paste this code right in there, and it will embed from the YouTube server this address, and will play your movie. Okay, so that's what we want to do. For the assignment, you just need to get the MP4 file up there. You don't have to get it on YouTube yet, although I think we should give bonus points for that.